Welcome to Uncredible Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. Whoop, whoop. I just want a fidget spinner.
Yeah. Fidget spinner accidentally cut your face.
So gangster.
Whatever happens. Okay, lots to talk about this week. What's going on?
The camera I bought, turns out it's worth $200. So that's good. I got it for $60.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A Pentax KM 35. Oh, I got to talk about this camera. Oh my.
He's visibly excited for those that
Okay,
can't
guys.
see him right now.
Okay, girls, I figured out women. Girls like hipsters. All right, here's the thing. I wear this camera around it's in a bag. I go talk to my teacher about it. He values it, and he's like, we check online. He's like, hey, you got a really good deal. I'm wearing it around my neck. Within less than 3 minutes, a young, attractive girl approaches me, and she's like, hey, I like your camera. Tell me about it. We start talking. She's like, hey, I've got a camera that's similar to that, but I don't know how to use it. Can you show me how to use it sometime? I'm like, yeah, sure. She takes my number. We've already met up twice since then to talk about camera stuff.
Dude, that's actually pretty impressive.
Isn't that pretty impressive? It's like they're approaching me now.
They are approaching you.
It's like, I'm honestly, like, I think next time I'm going through a dry spell, I'm just going to, like, stick that thing around my neck, go to my classes, just wait for people, I guess.
Yeah. Just set up a booth in a highly populated area. Don't advertise or just sit there. People will see the camera and they'll know.
But, like, seriously, though, like, it's crazy. Like, I'm telling you, oh yeah, another thing with dating, kind of, side quest. I was in my apartment, minding my own business, doing my homework, and then I hear a knock on the door. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So I go check it out. There's a girl. She's standing there. She's like, hey. I'm like, hey. I don't know
She's
how
like,
she doesn't.
You're the kid from the podcast.
No! I'm still waiting for that day. Just like a group of angry people with cameras live streaming. We're getting back. Anyway, she knocks on the door. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, this is random. I'm doing this for a dare. Would you like to go to a movie with me? I'm like, when? She's like, right now. And I was like,
Yes.
okay.
Wait, did you go? Did you go? Yes.
I was like, literally, as soon as I said yes, I was like, podcast content. I even joked about it in the car. I was like, this is going to give me some good content. But yeah, like her and two of her friends in the car. The first 30 seconds were kind of awkward, but then I was just super chill and we were joking around a bunch of stuff. But like, literally, I love side quests. And they were like, we got to go find someone else to do this. So we just pulled in some random apartments and I started talking to these people. I was like, hey, get in the car. Don't think, just go. Don't think, just go. Come on. And they were just like, no. And there were these other people we spoke to. And they said they'd go, but they were busy. And we actually exchanged numbers. It was a guy, and he said he wants to hang out sometime. But basically, they knock TLDR, they knock on my door, they're like, hey, come see a movie with me. And I'm like, I like movies. So we drive 40 minutes to Idaho Falls. We watch 48 Meters Below, the one about the sharks. It was actually not terrible. And then we go home. And it was chill. I like movies.
You don't have to talk to her. So, I mean, it's a pretty safe date for her, right? Nothing really can come of it if you never really talk to her.
I don't know if it's really a date, though, because it was like me and three girls. So, like, This is some, like, old school Mormon stuff.
So...
There's just three girls.
So it wasn't a date. Okay, well, this changes the context a lot. I thought she was dared to just knock on a random door and ask a guy out, and I was like, wow, that takes a lot of guts. She went with her friends. That's not even a date.
Yeah, I know. So, like, exactly. So, like, anyway, I was just like, YOLO, side quest, let's do this.
I mean, it's kind of cool because you got to hang out with some random people. Later, they probably went back to their apartment and they got a phone call. They answer the phone. It's a girl. She's like, don't talk to him. He's evil. You can't. No! Satan!
No.
The power!
He will ruin your life. Trust me.
He will literally ruin your life.
he did this one thing so bad, I'm completely prepared to overlook 6 weeks worth of good experiences. That's how bad it is. Like, all those long conversations and fun things we did together, it's like they never happened.
Yeah.
But
Because of
trust
that
me,
one thing that he did
that
that
one
one
thing,
time.
that one time that I'm refusing to comment on the context of, but just trust that it was bad.
Do you think that people nowadays, I feel like I say that a lot, people nowadays, but you know, there seems to be a lot of people that just will
Suck.
give people one shot and that's it. You know, it's like one strike, you're out.
Here's the thing: in Mormon culture, especially BYU Idaho, I was specifically told to not say these sorts of things on the internet. But First Amendment. Okay, everyone here, you're not being judged. I'm going to quote a crappy movie from the mid 2000s, and
Keep
it
going
talks
one
about,
sec.
and it says, in Mormon culture, you're not being judged on whether or not you're good enough to be hanging around with for like a year or a week or even an evening. You're being judged for time and all eternity. Like all of your merits are being weighed up to see if, okay, so TLDR, Mormons, they look at you and they're like, this is about eternity. And they're like, that's, yeah,
So one
you know,
strike, you're out concept.
it's kind of like, I'm not going to spend a billion years with someone that does that kind of thing. But I don't know, I feel like I've mellowed. I feel like I'm a catch. Like I'm very attractive, intelligent, charismatic. I'm an asshole, but it works. Like I'm funny most of the time. You know what I mean? And like if I like someone, I usually direct 90% of it to other people, which is fine. Do you know what I mean? Like I throw so much banter around that anyone who spends enough time with me is gonna get some. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you go to war, you catch some shrapnel. That's what I'm saying. Like
Why can't I hold all this banter?
all this badness. But yeah, seriously though, like, and that's another thing that I don't get. I throw around an industrial amount of banter all the time, like
Yes, you've
all the
always
time,
been that way.
all the time. So when people decide to take it personally, I'm just like, I do this. This is in my mind. I don't use words. I use facial expressions. Does that make sense? Like in my head, I'll just be like,
I would say that, okay, this is going to be kind of mean, but
"That's it."
prepare yourself. I would say that Americans are just hypersensitive, like trigger happy, ready to be offended by everything.
It's the suing culture part of that. They're
Yeah.
just always wanting to capitalize off anything, and if capitalizing is like financially or
Yeah.
emotionally, it's
Now, I'm not trying to say that all Americans are like that, but as a general culture, I feel like that is pretty accurate, that a lot of people do get super hyper, especially in like Western Bible Belt, you know, like I would say that they get really hyper offended about stuff.
me and it. It's true. It happens a lot.
So when you stick somebody who is like the epitome of banter and put them in this hypersensitive culture, it's just like it's like walking. It's like an octopus just going around a minefield.
It's like those slow mo high definition car crash videos on YouTube you can't not watch.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Oh, it's
"Ah!"
so bad, but it's good.
I just I don't like offending people. I don't do it deliberately. But
Well, you come from a culture where it's pretty hard to offend people. Like,
yeah,
what would you have to say to somebody to offend them?
you would have to say, I don't even know. Like you'd have to I think a deliberate, personal, calculated attack on their character and sort of life morals and ethics. Do you know what I mean? Like or family. Like you really have to try to offend someone. Like you just, do you know what I mean? Like you have to, yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
I honestly can't remember the last time I got offended by something.
Yeah, I don't really get that offended. Okay, well, honestly, I was offended by something. I think I'm a little hypersensitive right now because of my stress load. But I'll tell you a story of what happened. Okay, so planning my wedding. It's a big endeavor. We're trying to do it pretty fast. I'm working 2 jobs now again, and Deanna is working 2 jobs, and I'm starting 2 classes next week to go with the 2 jobs. So there's
Hmm.
just a lot going on, right? So I'm really, really touchy about stuff because I'm trying to get everything moving. So it's kind of tough. It's really hard to juggle right now. So with the wedding planning, there's a lot that goes into it, whether it's photographers or whatnot. And I kind of wanted to have a videographer, right? I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I hit up somebody from school, somebody who's never done a wedding before, just somebody who I thought was decent at it, right? Because I didn't want it to be super expensive or anything. I knew that she was pretty talented. And so I asked her if she would be willing to do it. And she said yes. And I said, okay, well, can you do a proposal for me? Now, okay, this is important because you're a communications major, right? I asked her to give me her portfolio and do a proposal. So, like, what would you do? How much would it cost? That kind of stuff. Tell me what you would do, because if you've never done it before, I want some idea of what you think you're going to do, right? Not just show up and start filming, because that's kind of unprofessional in my opinion, right? Especially if I'm paying for your services.
It depends on the thing. Like, as a professional, well, I am actually a professional according to this. But anyway,
Yeah.
I would say for an engagement or something, unless it's, depending on the engagement, you can just, what running and gunning is?
Well, yes, but that all I want to know is if that's what she thinks she's going to do. I just want her to tell me that, right? That's fair, right? I feel like that's fair. If you've never done a wedding before, well, what do you think you're going to do? Because what if she starts setting up tripods and stuff and like all fancy angles and she has a drone? Like, I don't know what she's going to do, right? I just want to know what she could do and what she would do to edit the video and like what kind of style she was thinking. Like that's what I wanted to know, right? Give me your proposal. Give me your sales pitch. What are you going to do? So I asked her to do that, okay? I waited, I think it was like a week or so. I didn't hear anything, so I messaged her back. I was like, hey, do you have that proposal? We're trying to nail some things down and want to know what you... And so she sends me this thing, and it's like 11 pages. And I'm like, whoa. So there's a title page that's like, Brady and Deanna's Wedding 2017. It's like, all right. So I look down. The next thing, she talks about like scope and just a bunch of... It's very technical. And I was like, well, this isn't really what I envisioned. I envisioned like a one-page, like short paragraph, this is what I'm going to do kind of thing. But she put all this effort into making it like a PDF. And then 6 pages of it was a contract. And I was like, what? But anyway, I look at this proposal and then it says like budget. And she's like, well, I can't give you an estimate because I don't know what you want. And so I was like, so I messaged her and I was like, okay, well, I want like a 3 to 5 minute video. I want you to be there from 8:30 in the morning until like 11 at night. And that's it. Like, give me something. And she's like, well, what's your budget? She asked me what my budget was. And I was like, well, I don't know is basically what I said, right?
This is why communication majors don't make a lot of money. Here's why I'm going to be a millionaire. Write this down, guys. I'm going to be a millionaire in a few years. Today is the 6th of July, 2017. And in a few years, I just will be a millionaire. And here's why. Because I understand business, and I know that you need to productize what you're doing. So what she needs to do is she knows you don't know anything about film. So if I was her,
I know a little bit, Brady. Right? I know a little bit about cameras and a little bit.
But what I mean is, like, as far as I'm concerned, you don't know what you want. So all I have to do is I have to say, for $500, you pay me $500 and I'll take care of it. Like, I'll say, I'll give you a 5-minute video or I'll give you a 3-minute video. I'll get some stills and I'll color grade it. I'll do the color correction as well. I'll add some audio to it. It'll be nice. It'll be clean. It can be, nice. It'll be legit. I'll say $500.
I can't wait to see your reaction with this story because it's going to get worse. Just prepare yourself, right? So I wanted a quote is what I wanted, right? If you're going to come and build something for me, I want you to give me a price.
I know, it's so basic.
So she asked me how much I was willing to spend. That is not good business, right? Because I'm not going to tell you how much I'm willing to spend because you're just going to pick that number or you're just going to pick slightly lower than that number. And I'm not comfortable with that. So I was like, I don't know. You just got to throw out.
She's got to know how much it costs.
Yeah, she has to. She's the professional. Tell me what your service is worth, right? So I said, okay, here's what I want to get. I just restated what I wanted. I said, you just got to give me a ballpark here. So get this. She comes back. And she says $1,100 plus travel plus accommodations.
For a wedding or a proposal?
For the wedding. But just remember, she's never done this before. Okay? She wanted $1,100 plus she wanted her travel expenses paid for plus she wanted
how long until the wedding?
Hotel. How long? A month.
1 month exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, Brady, if you pay for my travel expenses and find a floor for me to assert on, I will do it. I've got the gear. I've got microphones. I've got cameras. I've got lenses. I've got a tripod. I've got a steady cam. I can color grade. I will do everything. I've never done a wedding before, but you pay. I know that it's going to be expensive, so I guess if you pay for me to get there, I will do it as my gift to you, so long as you bear in mind that I've never done a wedding before.
See, and like that's what I was thinking, right? Okay, this is what I estimated. I estimated $800 to $900, okay, total. That's including everything because I thought, like I don't know how much I would pay her, right? Like average wage around here for a student is probably like $16.50, $17 an hour, and that's pretty high, I'd say maybe. I know a lot of students are working for $15 an hour or $13 an hour, and that's Canadian, remember, so it's a little bit different, higher living expenses, whatnot. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give her 20 is what I thought. I'll just estimate at 20. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have her there for 12 hours ish, and then I'm guessing it'll take her like 15 hours to edit. So let's say that that's roughly $500-600. And then I thought, okay, well, there's a premium for using her equipment. And there's a premium for, her expertise.
I will say that's a fair. I'll say that's her 1,100 plus expenses. That's about what you pay.
If somebody had experience, right?
Yeah.
So my argument is that I was doing her a favor. Now, the funny thing is she said that's less than what she would normally charge. She said that this is less than she's made other videos, but she's never done a wedding, right? And so...
Weddings are hard.
Yeah, weddings are hard.
I know that. But like seriously, Brady, have you paid anyone to do this yet?
No, we were just gonna toss the whole idea because we can't afford it.
Honest, like I'm serious. I'll talk to legitimately. I don't know if this is the right time or place, but I'll talk to the international office today about getting like some kind of go to Canada ticket. I'm serious. Like if you could get me to Canada. I've got my stuff.
Well, what would it take to get you to Canada is the question.
I don't know. After this, you send me in a message specific dates, and then I'll talk to the international office. If this is after the semester ends, I can take time off work.
It's August 5th is my wedding day.
August 5th. Do you want to talk while I Google course deadlines for my
Sure.
semester? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just keep explaining this. So she says 1,100 and all those expenses, and so we discuss it for a few days, and we're like, we just simply can't afford that, right? We're already paying $850 for one photographer and $350 for another because they're two different locations, two different times. So we're like, okay, well, and that's fair. That's pretty good for a professional photographer and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Okay. So then so then I message her and I just say, hey, look, it's not going to work out. We're just gonna have to pass this time. And so she says, may I ask why? And I go, okay, well, I guess that's fair to ask why, because she might want to know if her price is too high or whatever. And so I don't really want to tell her that her price is too high, because maybe that is the going, like, I don't know, it's just too high for us, right?
August 6th?
August 5th is the one.
August, yeah, I can do it.
Nice.
I could come a few days early too, if I needed to.
Sweet. That would be fun. You could help out, hang out in Canada.
But like I said, I can do video, but haven't done a wedding yet.
Yeah, see? And hey, like, we were just going to have random people just take videos, and then I was going to put a little video together is what we were
I tell you what,
doing.
for my price, one thing I'd want, if I was doing a wedding, I'd want a shoulder rig. It's like, I've got a glide cam, which is really good for moving around and like tracking people.
Yeah.
But like a shoulder rig, so you can kind of walk around and put Amazon it. It's less than 1,100. I don't know. We'll figure out how much flights cost.
Okay, like I'm just telling you, our budget is all the way maxed right now. So I would maybe consider paying to get you here, but I can't do anything beyond that. So
okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
So let me finish the story because it gets weirder, right? So she says, may I ask why? And I say, well, like we're really stretched thin right now. Mm-hmm. We're pushed way to our limits with stress and everything. And we just think it's another thing to add. And I just don't know that it's in our budget after all. It's the last thing we needed to cut, okay?
You in Alberta or Calgary?
Well, Lethbridge. I'm in Lethbridge.
Is that the airport?
But Calgary is where the airport would be, and that's 2 hours north. So you'd actually probably get there in Calgary, and somebody would have to like pick you up, and it might be complicated, but we'll talk about that. So I tell I tell her all this, right? And she replies back, and she says like, oh, okay, I understand. But then she puts some little jab in the middle of all this fluff, right? She did the cookie method, right? She said something nice, and then she said, hey, like, proposals are unnecessary, and people go to a lot of work to make the proposal. So she implied that she went to all this work to make a proposal for nothing. But that's what happens all the time in business.
She should already know how much she's charging. She shouldn't have to. If she had to do the work for you, idiot.
To me that's really bad business practice. Because I work at a mortgage office. We have people all the time apply, inquire, take it right to the last minute, and then duck out. Because like I just had a guy, he was purchasing a rental property. He refinanced his original property into a mortgage that would be appropriate to purchase another home with as a rental. And then he ducked out of the rental. At the last minute, we had all the documents, everything was good to go. He ducked out. So we did hours and hours and hours of work, pulled tons of strings for nothing, right? My boss, he's like, that sucks, and I wish people wouldn't do that, but it's part of business, right? He has to do what's in his best interest. So I guess I'm a little offended that she thinks she went to all of this work and whatever. But the thing is, I think it's a good learning experience for both of us. Maybe I shouldn't have taken it as far as I did, but I think that she should really reanalyze how she's working this situation out. But
yeah, she should. She definitely should.
Because here's my thing is that I feel like any student to do a wedding would just dive at that opportunity, right? I'm willing to take a risk on you. If it's your first wedding, you have established portfolio of weddings. It's super risky on my part. I have all the risk. What if you lose all the stuff because you didn't know how to save it properly? Like, I know that's taking a bit far, but like, for real, what if you corrupt all your files, or you're a noob? I'm going to pay you like you're a noob. That's how I look at it. But I mean, granted, she does have other work. I don't know if she's ever been paid to do any of that work, or if she's paid a lot to do any of that work, but it's too much for me for what she's done so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can talk about this with Diana. Is it Diana?
Deanna.
Deanna, sorry, I keep saying, okay. You can talk about this to Deanna, but just while I've just checked. Ballpark, 500 for return tickets. And let's say 50 for the bus to Salt Lake City and Rexburg and back. Just putting that out there, just so you can think about it.
Okay, I'll think about it. Or you could just come and hang out with us in Idaho for free.
Okay, which part of Idaho?
Coeur d'Alene, so it's way north, but we're gonna be there. Was it the 25th or something? The weekend of that.
So the video, you just pretty much want film of people at your reception, just cut together.
We just want people filming us getting ready and like just document the thing, right?
I've got my 35 mil as well. I could do some nice photos with that too.
Okay, I know you're getting excited about this, but you have to consider that we may not do this at all anymore.
I know. I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. Anyway.
But I will talk to her about it because I guess it's worth considering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my hypersensitive thing that happened. So am I justified? I was a little offended that she thought that I wronged her. I suppose I was like, I don't think I've wronged you. I'm kind of over it now, but I was for about 10 minutes. I was like, that's just not right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's very unprofessional of her. Definitely. Like I've taken one media business ownership class. And I can tell you now that you can't just expect. The whole reason people talk, the whole reason we're getting hired is because the people that are hiring us usually don't have any idea what they're doing. You know what I mean? They want us, they want to be able to come to me and say, this is what I want, and they want me to spit out a number. That's what they want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do mental gymnastics. Like, for example, like, if you told me I need you to shoot, it depends on the job. Like, think up a hypothetical filming scenario for me. Pretend you're a customer.
I'm shooting I need a marketing video done for a small municipality that highlights an event and what it can bring to the community.
Okay, what's the event?
The event is a festival.
How many days is the festival on for?
It is a 1-day thing, and it's for economic development and tourism.
Okay, do you want footage of, do you want to cut in some interviews of people running it as well, or do you just want kind of like a lifestyle? All right, how long do you want it to be, the finished product?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
Max
3 minutes?
2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. Who's it for? Is it just
It's
going to
for
be
the
on a
municipality.
website?
It'll be used as a Facebook advertising
Okay.
venture.
Do you need any like After Effects or graphics designed, or is it just like
We'll
basic?
leave that up to you. We don't know.
You don't know.
We
Okay.
don't know what any of that means. I mean, I do know what that means, but you
Yeah.
get the point.
Okay, for that I would say $1,500 plus expenses.
I actually know of that happening, but they didn't use After Effects or anything. They did some interviews, some shots. Over $3,000 they charged. This professional company, over $3,000.
It happens. It depends what they're using. Like me personally, like knowing my skills and what I've got, I could do it professionally. I could do it very well. $1,500 is it's about right for me. Like, but that's you're getting one camera. I'm the only guy that will be working on it, but it will be high quality.
So what else is new? I mean, you said you had so much to talk about. You're so excited.
Well, I told you about the side quest.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean,
I told you about the camera.
yep. I also know about the camera.
I'm trying to think what else. That's my parents are buying a house.
Another one?
Another one.
Are they like moving, or are they just purchasing another home?
They're purchasing another home, and they're gonna live in it sometimes. Well, my mum's gonna live there all the time, and my dad's gonna commute 2 hours. So he's gonna spend a few days a week at that old house and
At the office kind of thing?
At the office house, yeah. And because he works from home, and he's like, you know what? At this point, I don't care enough. Because he's paid the mortgage off.
Yeah.
It's like the amount of time and effort and tax it would take for him to buy a smaller place to use as an office. He said he'd be saving like less than $300 a month, and it's like at this point, like he's already got the house, so he's just gonna do that. And Brady's doing something.
Sorry, I was shutting my window.
So yeah, so like he's basically just TLDR. It's easier for him to just buy another house out instead of trying to deal with the other ones. Yeah. So it's in North Yorkshire. It's on 4 acres. It's a converted barn. It's really, really nice.
Wow.
I could send you some pictures if you would like.
Dude, when are we both going to go to the UK? When are we going to...
UK meetup? Honestly,
UK
like...
meetup?
Seriously, like, my parents, they've got room. Like, my sister, well, they'll have 2 houses by the time we do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of them's going to be basically empty. So, like, if we wanted to stay in Leicester, we could all have a room each, basically. Like, seriously. And if we wanted to stay with them up north in the nicer house, I mean, I'd probably crash on the couch, but there'd be space. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's 4-bedroom, but it's nice.
I think Deanna would want to go to the UK.
Seriously, I'm serious. Like, my parents are talking about bringing me over for Christmas.
They're talking about it?
Yeah.
Dude, okay, well, if you can't go to Christmas at your parents' house, you can always drive here.
That's actually... Really?
Yeah, you can come to Christmas with us.
What? Okay. Even though I've made comments about Christmas on...
Yeah. It's fine.
This is the guy that publicly said on several separate occasions...
Christmas sucks.
We brought him.
This is literally the Grinch, everybody.
We're so mad at we imported the Grinch.
Yeah.
Canada's too happy, you know.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
could always
so
drive up here and hang out with us. I'm sure we'd
I had a car.
make it
I
happen.
would. But
I don't. Okay, so I'm interested. Why don't you have a car again? Your family doesn't want to help you get one.
see what basically,
Hmm.
because
That's.
the truth is, 99% of the time, I don't actually need one.
I mean, that's true.
It would be nice to have. It's a big expense for something that's non-essential. And my dad, he's a really big believer in self-reliance. Like he said, as far as he's concerned, he'll have been, as economically, he'll have been the best father he could have been by getting me grad. His goal, he said, as a father, is to get me through college without debt.
Okay, I mean that's
So
fair and
like
right.
yes, like I'm paying for what I can, and then he's picking up the rest. But he
Yeah.
said, you know what?
I suppose I can see that from their perspective. There's really no sense in you have. I mean, my sister didn't have a car for a long time when she was in the States. You just don't need one. I mean, you can get around with other people. The only sad part is it does limit your freedom, right?
It really does. But you've got to ask yourself, to get a car in Rexburg that's not completely crap, you got to spend at least 5 grand.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with some kind of long-term loan, no interest type deal. Like, give me 5 grand now, and I don't know. Do car companies do that? Can I get a used car for 5 grand and pay them like 5.5 in 4 years?
Probably something close to that. And the reason they would do that is because it's a depreciable asset. So I mean the car's value is decreasing every day they don't sell it, the car's value is decreasing, right? So there are some companies that'll do 0% financing for two
Because
years or something.
I wouldn't necessarily have any personal issue with getting credit on a vehicle at this point.
What you have to remember is that you instantly lose money when you purchase a vehicle
Yeah,
because what'll happen is you buy it for 30,000. Like this is you wouldn't buy a $30,000 car, but you buy it for $30,000. It's instantly worth 25,000, right? So if you were to sell it right there for 25,000, you're paying $5,000 no matter what. Which is why a company would do that really low percent interest or no interest at all, because they know that when you go to sell the car, you're still gonna owe them money.
and plus, like filling it up and insurance and tax and stuff.
You're looking
That
at $150 a month.
yeah, that's I don't have $150 a month, and for a non-essential, neither does my dad. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's like if push came to shove, like it's not like they couldn't afford it. It's just a principle thing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I get it. Like the truth is, he could get me something and he wouldn't even notice. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like, do you know what I mean? Not that he's like super minted, but if 5 grand just mysteriously disappeared, it would be inconvenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Hmm. It's yeah, man. I just like if I at this point in my life, like I can't imagine not having a car. Like I need it. I absolutely need it to get around and everything for work, for everything. But in your situation, I can kind of see why you don't need it.
Yeah. Like I mean, BYU Idaho, small town. I can bicycle to the store.
Yeah.
I work on campus.
Yeah,
The
it's just the
guy,
only thing is it's you can't explore, right?
all go on dates.
Yeah. So, I mean, and those two things are pretty big deals.
They are, but are they worth $200 a month plus an initial fee of however many grand?
Yeah, maybe not. Hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I gotta ask myself, if I was handed, let's say $5,000 right now, would the most effective thing to improve my lifestyle be to purchase a car?
Probably not. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. You could get a beater for like 2,000, right? And it would work. It would do the job.
You say, but here's the thing: if I break down 50 mi- if I broke down 50 miles away, that's $400 to get towed back to Rexburg
Yeah.
to have something that doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've known too many people that buy beaters and then them just be money pits. My first motorbike, I bought the cheapest one you could get, and I ended up spending its worth on fixing it twice. do you know what I mean? When I could have just spent that initially and had a much better bike that didn't break at all.
Yeah.
Like I've learned my lesson with that. Like I've already made some like rules for myself, and that is, under no circumstances, unless I was spending like several grand, like a lot of grand on some kind of obscure classic thing, and if I was really rich, like I wouldn't buy anything that was over 100,000 miles. Preferably, like once I graduate, I'm drawing the line at 50,000 miles. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
once I'm working 40 hours a week, like I wouldn't buy anything over 50,000 miles. I wouldn't buy any, like at the moment, I wouldn't buy anything over 10 years old. In the future, once I graduated, 50,000 or over 6 years old, I think. Just reliability. And
Yeah,
like,
I gotcha. Like my parents don't buy used cars anymore. Like I'm sure your parents don't either. They don't.
they've,
They,
they've never bought a new car.
well, like I mean, they don't buy like a
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like my dad, he just, I don't know, like you know a bit about it. Like he just couldn't live with himself if he spent money on something that depreciated that much
I
within
think
10 minutes of owning it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because like he got a 2-year-old Jaguar XF, like a nice car, for like half the new price with
Mhm.
40,000 miles on it. Do you know what I mean? It was 2 years old.
Yeah. I think my parents have actually purchased a couple new cars, but generally speaking, they're pretty frugal about other things, so they don't. Yeah.
Like the way I say it, like think of a crappy car.
My car right now, 2001 Toyota Corolla, worth like a thousand
Like
dollars.
a current version, like a new car, a crappy new car.
Okay, yeah,
Like a Chevy Spark or something. I don't know. How much
yeah.
do they cost?
I don't know. It's got to be over 10 grand, easy.
It's got to be over like 20 grand.
Well, it depend. It really depends, right? I think there are some new cars that are probably like 18.
Yeah, okay, let's say 20 grand for a new car.
Let's Google this crap.
Okay.
Cheapest new car.
And let's not go with like some obscure thing in the Philippines. We're talking like
Nissan Versa S sedan.
I'm gonna
Twelve
guess
thousand.
15,000.
12,000.
12,000? But that's with nothing on it, right? Like wind up windows.
It would be like just a motor. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, so what number are we gonna use for this thought
Oh,
exercise?
Nissan Micra 10,000. Chevrolet Spark 10,000.
Really, you can get a new car for 10 grand?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
All right, fine. So let's
A
call it.
Yaris, man. Do you remember the Yarises?
Yeah.
A Yaris hatchback, 14 grand.
Okay, so should we say 14 grand for a new car?
Sure, that's probably like average.
Yeah. For like low end new 14. For 14 grand, you could get pretty much you could get like a mid-range Subaru, like a mid-range Subaru. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like like a car that doesn't suck a lot. Or like you could get a mid-range Toyota. You could even get like a Volvo or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, I need your advice here. So, several months ago, my washer, or not my washer, but my dryer was acting up. It would heat up sometimes and then it wouldn't others. And then eventually it just stopped heating up. Okay. So, obviously, everybody's clothes are still damp when the cycle's done. Okay. So, the cycle just doesn't work for whatever reason. It's just not working. Okay. So, I take it apart, I look, and I see that the heating element, I don't know if you can visualize what that looks like, but it's essentially coils, right, of metal that all link together in like a circuit type thing, and they heat up. There was a break in the heating element. So that led us to believe that the circuit wasn't completely connected, and thus it wasn't heating up. That's what my friend and I discovered. So we thought, well, what if we just set them on top of each other? Will that work? So we cleaned the whole dryer up and we put the element back on, but we just had the metal touching again. We kind of overlapped them. Sure enough, we turned on the dryer, everything works fine. A week or so ago, dryer stops working again. I open it up, the element is like destroyed. Okay, the element's broken in multiple parts at this point. The element's toast. So I don't have a dryer anymore at my house. So I'm given a choice. I can go out and I can buy a heating element, which will probably be somewhere in the range of $50 to $100 for the part. Or I can buy a brand new dryer for like $330. What do you do? Why?
Do your letters depend on use of a dryer as part of their contract?
Yes. They need a dryer.
How old is your dryer with the element broken?
10 years plus.
Besides the element, it works perfectly.
I think so. But the thing is, I mean, there are other things, right? Like today, somebody had turned it on and it was just stuck on, I think. But I don't know if that's because of the element, right? Because it's never done that before. It could be like a heating thing. I don't know.
If I was you, if it's 10 years old plus, I would say you're at the point where you can justifiably replace it and you won't have to run the risk. Because if you buy the element, the rest of it could break in a week. And it might be on the blink. Do you know what I mean? Because like the heating element, like remember I've done engineering for 4 years at college. The heating element could have broken because another part isn't working properly that caused it to overload part of that, which is just putting strain on all of it. And the heating element was the first.
See, that's my concern, is that it's going to be one of those, I'd keep dumping money into new parts and eventually I've spent more than a brand new dryer.
I do your research on just a cheap dryer that.
So now the second question is,
things.
Do you buy a second-hand dryer or do you buy a...
I haven't done the research, but how much would you save by going used?
I don't know. Let me take a look. I haven't really thought
Because
about that.
the way I see it, like a dryer could be one of those things where someone's moving out and they're like, I just got to get rid of this thing, like $50. I don't care. It's just space. Like I need to buy, like there will be people that have resigned themselves to just having to buy a new dryer for whatever reason and needing to get rid of an old one. And so they'll just let go of a perfectly working dryer for just chump change for the sake of having something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel you could probably find, like, I guarantee that right now on eBay, there's someone saying, dryer works perfectly, moving to Alberta or wherever, don't need it, $50, pick up only.
Wow. These are in Calgary. Let's see. I'm searching the wrong place. Let's take a look here. Brand new dryer. Somebody's selling a dryer for like $75.
Yeah, I'd get a used one because that's as much as a new heating element. That's
$200. $200 for brand new front load dryer. I'm thinking that it looks like I should just try to buy one on Kijiji.
Get one on Kijiji. Get one on Kijiji.
Here's another one. $150. Looks like I'm just gonna buy one on Kijiji. I personally don't see a reason why I would buy a brand new dryer, right? Because the minimum for a brand new dryer is gonna be $340, and that's not including tax. So let's say $400. Safe estimate for a brand new dryer. Now the only thing is then I have to somehow get rid of the old dryer, so I'm not really sure what to do with that, right?
Just take it to a recycling place. Or
yeah, I just did that with a bunch of stuff and it's not fun. I don't have a truck either, so I'd have to.
Yeah, it's things like that. Like when I move, whenever I need to move stuff, whenever I'll buy anything that's bigger than can fit in a backpack, which isn't very often, but it's like little furniture things. Like I bought this, like, I'll show you because I can roll it in front of the camera. It's like it's like a file cabinet thing.
Yeah.
But like it rolls and it locks. Like I keep my camera stuff in there on my laptop, and anyway, like it's a safe box. Like it's not gonna stop Ocean's 11 heists, but it gives me some peace of mind when I'm not in the apartment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like moving that kind of thing, it's annoying. It would be nice to have a car or a truck.
How did you get that to your new apartment?
Well, actually, when I bought it, what I did is I made a show of like playing with my bicycle and playing with the thing and trying to figure out how I was going to do it. And then someone was like, hey, do you need a hand? And I was like, well, actually, yes. And a good Samaritan gave me a ride. It was like a mile away. Do you know what I mean? Like,
okay, so that's nice.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's things like that. Like, I hate being the benefactor of charity, but
sometimes you have to be. It's part of being humble.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Hmm.
it sucks, but like, it was $20. It's really useful. It's really helpful. I kind of needed it. I let someone do a good deed, and it didn't
Yeah,
cost them anything.
that's good. So I started my second job. I don't know if I told you that. I think I did. Yeah, I did tell you. But did I tell you what it is? I'm a research assistant. So I'm helping out a professor who's finishing his doctoral thesis. So he's trying to do his defense, right? He's writing the paper and he's got to do a defense and whatever to get his doctorate. He's getting a doctorate of law as well, so it's kind of cool. And what he's studying is really quite interesting. Now, it's not exactly, something that I'm hyper interested in or whatever, but like I wouldn't go study this, but it's just cool to look at. I think he is an indigenous person himself.
What do you
And
mean indigenous?
so he's Aboriginal. Like, what do you guys say in the UK?
Like to what? Like
I
he's
guess
an
you could say Native
Eskimo?
American. See, Eskimo is an
For
offensive
Canada?
term here. We don't say Eskimo in Canada
Wait, really? Why not?
because it's an outdated kind of term. We would say the Inuit people.
But he's an Inuit then.
Well, he's not an Inuit. There's different classes of. I think he's a Ojibwe or something.
He's a
Ojibwa?
snow
I
Indian.
don't remember how he's. But anyway, he's really cool, and he
Like, because for the last 1,000 years of ancestors have lived on the ice cap.
he didn't live in the ice cap. I think his
I
tribe is
know.
from the
You,
eastern.
you say he's native. That could mean anything. Like, native to where? Like, Canada
Yeah.
native?
Yes. So
Like, maple syrup
his
flowing,
tribe, I think, is
flowing
from the
through his veins?
eastern Canada. Yeah, he's from eastern Canada. So anyway, the point is he's studying kind of the socio-cultural implications of indigenous views on property rights versus Western civilization's views on property rights and how those conflict and why there's issues there and why we need to pay attention to how different cultures view property. And I actually find it quite interesting because my job, I'm tasked to read his whole thing and read the comments of his supervisors and then give my own feedback and my own comments and also compile all the feedback and comments and help edit his entire paper. So I spent like 5 hours doing it today. It was really cool. I honestly, like, I felt really fulfilled after because I was finding all these little things where, he could have explained this a little bit better, or he shouldn't say it like this because it contradicts this statement. It's really quite fun. But yeah. So that's my new job.
That does sound interesting. So speaking of the native views of property rights versus the Western view, where do you stand? Or should I say my bit about where I stand?
Well,
first, or-
I'm going to say mine because I think it'll influence you a bit.
Okay.
Here's what I'm gathering. The views of different cultures view property differently, right? The natives here, they view property as almost like a spiritual thing, right? Because they don't really own the land because the creator owns the land, right? And the earth owns the land, that's kind of the... Now, I don't want to act as if I'm speaking for their beliefs because I don't know exactly, like I barely jumped into this. I'm not very familiar with the background, so forgive me if anything's incorrect here. But they're very connected to that, and I think that's really cool. And so when somebody says we have Western culture kind of looks at property ownership as we control the land, right? Whereas an indigenous view would be we are a part of the land, right? So that's where things conflict. Now, where do I stand on that? I don't know. I think there's merit to both sides. I think that you can't just say one way is correct. I think that you need to address all sides and think, okay, how do we come to understand each other's truths and create a new truth?
I think there's a line. Like, I mean, there's one thing. I think that natives do take advantage because I'm skeptical about, because I'm like, I lived in New Zealand and there's lots of Maoris there. And I'm skeptical at like how in tune they are with their heritage when it comes to being able to capitalize off it. Do you know what I mean? And like you'll know the same with Chamorros. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll down a pack of Budweiser and sit on their chair made in China and use their car made in Japan, all day, every day. But as soon as they can make a buck being Chamorro, they'll burn a flag. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Now, okay, I think that opinion has merit because there are some people that do that, right? Just as there are some bad, really white supremacist people, right? There are bad people in every culture.
not bad. But what I mean is, like, a lot of natives, I feel like they claim to take issues more personally than they would because they can capitalize off it. Like, think about, like, if I'm a business owner and I want to buy a piece of land, and I've got all this money. If you could have some vague claim to the land, like if you're broke and you have some vague claim to something that's worth a lot of money, you'll tell anyone that it's like your spiritual homeland or something.
The thing is,
you know what I mean? Like,
I think that it's not really about the money. I mean, if you look at a lot of cases, it's really not about the money when these issues are concerned. Right?
So Rihanna's got involved now.
What?
Rihanna's been involved now.
What are you talking about? Rihanna.
It's not about the money.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, okay. I was like, what reference is this? So it's not really about that so much as it is about protecting the land. A lot of those property rights issues cases in Canada, they involve, bad use of land, right? So oil companies want to go in and essentially desecrate land that is traditional land, right? And the Aboriginal people there, they say, no, like, you can't do that, right? This land is important to us.
Cannot.
So they say, look, we'll share the land. They say, we'll share the land with you. You can take some resources from it, but you have to replenish the land, right? You have to help us. Like, we can have some jobs. You can have some jobs. We take care of the land, right? It's more of like their communal effect, right? They want everybody to benefit and then nobody to hurt. I think that kind of thing comes up a lot more often than give us a ton of money and we're fine with whatever you do to the land. I think that's pretty much that's kind of a stereotype, I think, and I don't think that stereotype is necessarily true. I think, of course, there are people like that, but certainly not all, and I would argue that most are not like that either.
Fair enough.
I think it's just a really interesting topic in general because it's something that I don't know a lot about, right? And so as I've been reading his paper, it's really enlightening me, and I think the way he writes is very personal, right? He's writing. Sometimes he throws in things, little anecdotes about his childhood and when he'd go to the reserve and they would call it home and what that meant and what home means in Western civilization, right? I think those things are really, really interesting. And I think we can learn a lot from alternate perspectives.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I can see how having a piece of land for thousands and thousands of years in your family, and then just some immigrants coming and saying, we're going to use this now. And then you're like, well, they're using it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what was this, 200 years ago? They want to build a log cabin and grow some corn. Like, fine, whatever. And then then the immigrants decided to start trading each other for it.
They start poisoning the land. And then they start hurting the land. You know what I mean? Like, the land is almost and again, I don't know, so I don't want to speak for Indigenous people, but I would say that land is almost a spiritual thing to them because they're so connected with the land, right? The land was their lifeblood.
I understand how you feel because, like, in England at the moment, there's like a big immigration thing going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm against it. Like, there's a lot of third world migrants that are just being funneled into Europe. And I think that's a really bad thing because, call me racist, but they cause a lot more crime and problems. They're just a huge burden on the state economically and socially and politically. Because here's the thing, like, I'm planning ahead. All of those migrants in 30 years, their kids are going to be voting for the people that I don't want to be in power. And there's going to be more of them than me because they all have 20 kids.
Yeah.
The only demographic, of all the demographics in the last presidential election, the only reason Republicans won is because of white people. Like, black people, it's like over 80% Democrat. Like, Latinos, similar. Like, every demographic, that isn't white votes really far left in comparison statistically.
And that's a cultural
except
thing, right?
Asians. Yeah. So like what I'm saying is like England and America, both very successful countries, and I think a lot of that has to do with how they've been ran. And whether we like it or not, they've been run by white people, and they've been doing a good job for a while. And then you get these immigrants that come in, decide they want to change things politically, and then everyone wonders why things aren't running as well as they were before. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's really a conflict of culture that happens. Now, one way is not necessarily better than the other, right?
What are the most successful countries in the world?
Yes, but what I'm
like
saying is
East
that
Asian, European, and America.
Each side has merit, right? Each side has positives to bonuses, right? I think that if you can learn from each other and actually have a conversation, that you can learn things to make things better.
One is objectively better than the other.
If
the quality of life in Europe and East Asia is objectively significantly better than that of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like the thing that makes a country is its people. And if you start shoveling a bunch of third and second worlders into a first world country, you see what happened to the Chuukese people in Guam. They just drag it down. They're just like a black hole of resources.
Yeah. And it's not everyone, but there are many that struggle, right?
Statistically speaking, it's most.
Mm-hmm. So then the question is, okay, if these people are going to come to our country, how do we integrate them culturally, socially? What do we do to help them? Job.
And what New Zealand does is, to immigrate to New Zealand, you need a points system. So like for there's a calculation, like depending on the number of people in your family. So like as a single guy, it would be kind of easy. Well, for me, I'm already a citizen. But like if you wanted to move to New Zealand, you've got you and your wife. What you do is they say, okay, so that's two people, they're two adults, and then they say, what careers are you in? And they work out like how much tax you're likely to be paid, how educated you are. So like you get points for your education, how much money you're bringing into the country, and like just skills, basically. So you need a certain number of points to get in. So like if you've got 10 kids, no degree, and you want to work minimum wage, you're not getting in. But if you're blue or white collar, like it basically boils down to, are you actually a useful asset in the country? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you actually have a skill that you're going to use? Like, you don't even have to be white collar. Like, if you're a mechanic or a hairdresser, so long as you can prove that, like, you've been working, you can work, you fully intend on working, and you don't have a criminal record, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a race thing. It's just a qualifications thing. Yeah. Like, if you told me that, like, a bunch of Africans were going to move into my hometown, but they've all got STEM degrees, I'd be like, great. But if you told me a bunch of Africans were moving into my city and they've never had a job, they're 25 times more likely to be involved in a violent crime and commit a rape or just do something socially obnoxious, I'd be less inclined.
Joseph Smith, rape is socially obnoxious.
Okay. Okay, guys, for some additional context, both me and Brady have lived in a third world country and a first world country. And we've seen what happens when people from that third world country go to the first world country. And Brady, what do 90% of them do?
Get in trouble because they don't know how to function in a first world country.
How long does it take them to get in trouble?
Probably a week.
Yeah. Basically, we know this is overgeneralizing, but the truth is a massively high proportion of the third worlders that we knew personally and visited with, and a lot of the times were friends with, they would go to said first world country, do something really, really stupid or do lots of stupid things and just basically screw people over, not necessarily maliciously, but just be a huge inconvenience.
Yeah, I think that a lot of... Now, again, not all of them, but a lot of those people, they just don't know, right? They don't understand that
and we're not blaming them for that, but
it's not their fault.
We can't let that be an excuse to tear down our country. Like, just because someone's well-meaning, it doesn't mean that they get to make my country worse.
Actually, I have a good story about this. My grandpa was telling me this story the other day, and he was quite upset about it. Now, remember, my grandpa is early 70s. My grandpa is a very law-abiding citizen. Is very frugal. He often spends time in wildlife and nature, right? He goes fishing. And in Canada, a lot of places are catch and release, okay? So you catch a fish, you have to release it.
That's dumb.
Or it's if you catch a fish that is below a certain size, you have to release it, right? It's so that people don't all go to the river, catch all the fish, and then kill off the entire fish population, right? Because people would do that, right? So especially with technology and things, people just net an area, catch all the fish, and then kill the fish population. So there are rules, right? You have to have a fishing license, and then if you go, there are only certain areas where you can keep the fish or can't keep the fish. And so my grandpa is very attentive when it comes to those rules. Recently, there were several immigrants. I don't remember where they were from, whether it was Sudan or like some very like Middle Eastern country, right? They got in trouble.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, fish.
Yeah. They got in trouble because they went to the river and they caught a ton of fish and they weren't releasing. Somebody saw them doing this for a long time and then reported them. They went to court and they faced a huge fine, right? Because that really hurts the wildlife and the ecosystem here. So they faced a huge fine, but the lawyer was able to say, look, these people don't understand as well as somebody regularly would, right? They don't understand the implications. They don't understand that this is wrong because culturally this is them just trying to get food, right? That they're poor and they see this as a means of feeding their families. And maybe their English isn't as good. They just didn't understand, so lessen the penalty. The penalty was lessened, okay? They didn't have to pay as much in fines. I think they just did some community service and stuff. Basically, they were given a slap on the wrist and they were forced to pay for the fish, you know. But it was significantly less than what they should have paid. Do you think that that was the fair judgment?
I think from a personal level, it sucks. Like, I don't think you should, like you said, like the third worlders, did they really not know what they were doing? If they really didn't know what they were doing and they really were just trying to get food, I would say slap on the wrist. You don't want to like screw someone's life over for a mistake. But at the same time, that's why I think it's easier and better for everyone if you just don't let them in the first place, because this type of thing happens.
There's no way to prove their intent. Yeah, there's no way to prove.
You can't do it. Intent. But like it's like I think it's unfair on the Canadians to have like your grandfather, like he spends his whole life not fishing a certain way to preserve the fish, and then a bunch of people turn up and they just negate everything he's done for his entire life.
Yeah, and that really bothered my grandpa. He thought that they should have been punished. But the problem is that I actually see both sides pretty clearly, and I go, man, I don't know what I would do, right? Because if you don't punish them to the fullest extent, what's to stop people from taking advantage of that, right? Because then people can always say that, you know, I didn't understand or I didn't know any better, right? So at what point do you stop that? At what point is it not okay to do it? But then alternatively, yeah, like, what do you, I don't know. It just seems,
and plus, the real bad thing about it, so you wasted hundreds of hours of people's time, guarantee they didn't pay for their lawyer, thousands and thousands of dollars of court fees, and destroyed the environment. And these people, they're never going to contribute to society. Ever.
Well, no,
Ever.
These people were probably, I don't think that's a fair statement, because there are many, many immigrants in Canada that do very, very well. Some of the richest people in Canada are immigrants. And
yes,
they came here. Immigrants? They came here with nothing.
No, but did they come here with good ideas and work ethic?
Yes, I mean
that's not nothing.
Do you know who Robert Herjavec is?
No.
He owns Herjavec Group. They invest in things, and he started a little tech company, I believe it was. And anyway, he came here with nothing. He was from Ukraine. They were refugees. He came here with his family with nothing. And they lived in a little one-bedroom apartment. They lived off nothing. And then he got a degree at university, and it was like a music degree or some kind of, you know, fine arts type degree. And then he went on to become a business mogul. He just started a business and it worked for him.
Yes, but how many immigrants don't do that? Think about all the random, just generic American or Canadian guys that, you know, middle class, went to school, now they're paying $50,000 a year in taxes. for the privilege of living
I totally get
on
what
a
you're coming
certain
from.
point of the earth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. It's just, it's tough. I don't think it's fair to say that they'll never contribute, because what is contributing to society? They still pay taxes. Many immigrants work really hard.
What I mean is, you've got to look at this as hard work does not necessarily equal efficient or effective work.
I mean, what kind of work are we talking here to? Yes, I totally agree, but I would argue that there are plenty of Canadians that were born in Canada, whatever, that do terribly inefficient work and don't contribute to society and live off the government.
You're right.
Or whatever.
You're right.
I think both sides are.
You can't deport them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can stop. Okay, here's the thing. If I had Group A and Group B, in Group B, there's a 90% chance that any given person from Group B is going to drain lots of money from society. And there's
I think there's something you're missing here, because people that are immigrants, if they're just coming over, they have to work and they have to pay tax. There are tons of rules. And there's different rules if you're a refugee, right?
It's different in Europe. Because I'm saying in Europe, like Angela Merkel friggin' screwing everyone, like Germany trying to screw Europe for the third time in 100 years, saying, you're all third worlders, you want to rape and murder and just act like it's chook up in here. Like, come on in, here's our taxes, here's our men, here's our women, here's our children. Oh, you kicked a 6-year-old in the face because they looked at you funny. You didn't understand, it's a different culture, slap on the wrist. Oh, you like gang raped that woman in the street. Well, it's a different culture, so you're all going to get like 5 years, but then we're going to forget about it. Like
what you just said, that's the whole issue here, is at what point do we decide that it's not okay to have a different culture? I mean, it's okay to have a different culture.
Personal freedom.
Yeah.
When it steps on people's freedom, and you've got to look at things statistically. For example, like as a heterosexual, Christian, educated, white male, if for whatever reason I was 90% likely to be a burden on everyone if I moved to pick a country.
Australia. If
there was a 90% chance I was only going to be a burden on society, then I think Australia is well within their rights to say, you know what? Like, we're good. Thank you. We understand you have the best of intentions, but it's our people will call your people. And you've got to look at things statistically, because obviously on a case-by-case basis, there's going to be good people. And I think if you did want to do it on a case-by-case basis, great. I think New Zealand's got the right idea. And same as Australia, a point system. Like, you've got a degree, that's 10 points. You've never had a criminal record. You've never had a criminal record, that's 5 points. Like, you make so much money a year. Like,
I like Canada's rules too. I mean, for example, Deanna's American, right? In order for Deanna to move here, she had to prove that she was contributing something that no one else was, that no other Canadian was. In order for her to move here, she had to have a skill. And her skill that she learned in school here and that she learned through experience is real estate law. And so her employer, in order for her to apply for permanent residency, had to vouch and say, we can't use anybody else.
I think I've heard something similar in other countries.
Yeah, we can't use anybody else. We need her. We're willing to sponsor her and say that she is top notch at this job, that no other Canadian can do it. Anyway, I think that ends that conversation. I think that's really cool, and I think we'll revisit that another time. But man, it's so interesting how other cultures function and work, and how foreign policy and immigration and all of that comes together. I think that it's a really deep, very difficult process, and I'm glad that we have experts in many countries working on that.
And on this podcast.
Yeah, clearly. Uncredible podcast.
Uncredible podcast. 0 facts cited.
Anyway. I think we're about out of time for the podcast anyway.
This has been a fun podcast. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been season 2, episode 2 of Uncredible podcast.
Yeah, we didn't filter ourselves that much. Woo!
We didn't that much, yeah.
All right, see you later.